Behold, my glorious supporter EyePatchNotes has requested some discussion about parlay styles. I was wondering if this was going to start to become a topic sometime soon. EyePatchNotes says, as a longtime Pantaloon Saloon channel fan, I've noticed that people tend to have their own parlay style. You'll get people who usually ask more personal stuff or express themselves through their requests, and then others who tend to ask things in a specific format or of a specific type. I was hoping that you would have a clearer idea of this than I do as the guy that made the videos. Yeah, I actually don't have a ton to say about this, but I do think about this a lot. The first thing I want to quickly say is that I was hoping that over time, as I did parlay more, it would become kind of recognizable when people had made a certain kind of parlay. And I think that has sort of happened. I think for some people it has, some people it hasn't, which I think is kind of good and bad. I think it's very cool, or it's good, and then there's a thing that's good about it, not bad. There's a thing that's good about it not happening too. It's cool because you do start to notice, like, this is a request from this person. In fact, EyePatchNotes, that's a good example. You often ask questions that, like, your signature thing is you have a spoiler thing posted in the, you see the text for the parlay thing, and then some of it on Discord is marked out as a spoiler, so I can choose not to read your full thoughts on the thing before I answer the question, which is really fun. It's really good for this format because if I talk for like 20 or 30 minutes about something, it's nice to have a sort of like turn in the discussion where I click the spoiler and then I kind of have something else to bounce off of. That's fun, and I think it creates a pretty distinct feeling. A lot of your parlay have naturally been really long, and that is totally fine. I don't mind. And I think that's part of why. They've been long, but they've been very structured, good discussions. You also have been asking a lot of questions that I can tell you've been thinking about for a long time. So yes, I think some places that's noticeable, and I'll talk about more examples in a minute. But it's also kind of nice when people don't have a structure like that at all. Sometimes you get people where every request is totally different every month, and that, or not totally different, but the person is trying to make them different each month. And I appreciate that as well, because we have only a moderate number of parlay patrons now. Now, it's wonderful to have all of you making parlay, but it's also good for the audience enjoying these, which people seem to be, for there to be variety. And we get more variety if we have some of the small collection of parlay people we have doing a variety of requests as well. So I think it works out. We get the feeling of how does it feel if people kind of develop a reputation as making a certain kind of parlay, and we get the feeling of variety. I feel like the channel is still pretty consistently varied. It doesn't often zero in on a topic. It's already well and truly separate a consistent amount of the time from Warframe while still feeling comfortable talking about Warframe frequently. I'm very happy with where Parley is overall. So I wanted to say that at first. That's the main thing I had to say about that. But yeah, as I was saying, I don't have like a ton to say about this. There are a few people that stick out in my mind as examples. Like Free William, often the parlays are kind of what ifs or like thought experiments or writing prompts. In fact, one of them literally was a writing prompt that you adapted into a question. That's fun. I like me a good writing prompt, even if I have not been penning the results lately. I like to talk them out. That's very fulfilling. That's fun. A lot of yours are imaginative and feel like speculative. You want to get to know the person better by asking a sort of I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but kind of an icebreaker question. Like, they're things that are good for getting to know a person, which is secretly advantageous to me because it helps the audience get to know me better on this channel, where one of the primary functions is that if the audience just wants to hear me say things about like me, this is a place where you can get that if you want. It's podcasty in that way. So that's cool. True Mr. Foot has made a bit of a name for themselves, making kind of like viral bait parlays. There have been a few tier lists. The most popular parlay by view count was True Mr. Foot. I think a few that are up there have been True Mr. Foot, actually. And then we have of course, True Mr. Foot did the Matrix Warframe tier list type thing, or I did it as a Matrix, but that, and then also the potion seller thing. Anyway, a lot of videos that you would predict would work well. The True Mr. Food parlays remind me of if you were trying to run a normal YouTube channel and this was the content on the YouTube channel, what kind of videos would you try to make? those, and it's gone quite well for this channel. So anyway, that's been solid. It's very nice to have that happen, and then it's like there are these different producers, and I wake up in the morning and I look at my Parley thing and I think, oh, the next video from the acclaimed, True Mr. Foot, the producer who brought you the Warframe bad mod tier list. The next big hit is coming out. I imagine it would be exciting to have that as a job in real life. Flips, it comes to mind. You haven't made a ton of Parley, but they have been sort of like industry related things, like more personal interests, but things that are kind of about a meta topic. They're about, like how consoles being in limited quantity as a concept in society, or there's a music theory one coming up that I still have to do that's very different than a lot of what people are requesting right now. So those are a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, there are people for whom I feel like I have those are just off the top of my head, like clear ideas of, and there are certainly more. There are other people who I feel like I have some consistent idea of, like who, also like one or two of you I've met either in person or like by a camera. And so I do legitimately know you a little bit, but for a lot of other people, they maybe haven't even requested that many. There are a good number of people who have Parley, but they haven't used it more than once or twice. And I also want to use this video to quickly say to those people, just so you know, you can use it more. I will try to get a hold of you myself even more than I already post that sometimes in the weekly wardrobe and stuff. But I want to make sure people know, like, you shouldn't hesitate to ask Parley. It's okay if you don't want to ask one every month, of course. But I want you to know that, like, you are paying to support this content, and I want you to feel like you don't have to hesitate to request something. It legitimately helps me. Having this channel have consistent content is a really important mainstay of the community when I'm not making some kind of big main channel thing, or I'm always working on them, but when it's not coming out, the audience has the stream content and these videos as kind of the mainstay, like the thing that keeps you going in between. So if people want more content, like, that is where we get to collaborate and make that stuff. So please don't be shy. That's all I'm trying to say. Do I have anything more to say about this? Just like Parley styles in general. Yes. So I wanted to also mention Liliana has had a pretty distinct, of course, Liliana being the person who requested the favorite Warframe, best Warframe series. Well, you didn't request the series, but you said favorite Warframe, and I said, haha, not on my watch, and made the whole series. To try to avoid the question, we'll see how that worked out. Anyway, you have done a good job, like a few other people have, of kind of creating a rapport where, like, I do something and then you respond to it in some way with a Parley. The little gotcha at the end where I said, I don't have a favorite Warframe. I weasel it out of it by making a video about every single Warframe as my favorite, and then I rank them on a tier list of how much I like them, I guess. And that's, that's as good as an answer as I can get. And then I got. Liliana asked, well, you could just create your favorite Warframe. None of the Warframes in the game is your favorite? Interesting. I wonder what we could do about that. So yeah, that's very fun as well. It's fun to not kind of like playfully spar with the audience a bit, not fight, not challenge necessarily, but to sort of have a bit of fun together. I like that. I thought maybe it would be fun to say if there was a type of Parley like I don't get at all that I wonder if like would be a fun thing. A lot of people that do this kind of thing or something very similar to this will do things with their partner a lot. I'm wary of having Anna be too much of a part of Parley just because she has so much on her plate already, but it's fun to have her dip into them every so often. People have been doing that a little bit more. As long as it's not too much work, that is totally fine. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a pretty solid variety. It's totally okay to ask things that are way more out there. I guess not that this bothers me, but something that I think people who hear what Parley is and are familiar with me elsewhere but haven't watched any yet, something that those people might be surprised to find isn't often requested in Parley are like relatively normal Q&A questions. Zezmeril comes to mind as someone who does ask these kind of things sometimes. It's not like it never happens, but things like standing desk. What's going on with that? Like, what recording software do you use? Somebody asked that. People have asked them, but I think you would think if I pitched the idea of Parley to you, as someone who watches other stuff in the community, and this is the only thing you haven't watched, which is not uncommon among my audience, I think that you would expect it to be like more like Q&A, and yet it's not that it isn't. And again, like, this is fine. Like, it took on a life of its own that has been really fun. I guess I would say, sure, I wouldn't mind more questions like that. I'm sure people would enjoy them. So please don't hesitate to ask if it seems like a more mundane question. I really don't care either way. I enjoy basically every question we get asked. I'm just trying to say that I would hate for someone to feel like, because the Parley requests are often so off the wall, I would hate for someone to feel like theirs is just boring and they shouldn't ask it. Like, no, people will really appreciate that. Like, I'm sure plenty of people would enjoy it. I guess if anything, and I really do not mind this, but I sort of envisioned Parley as being like having a bit more utility rather than being like a Zandy finds a way to respond to totally absurd questions every day. Which, again, like, that's very fun too, and people, like, the view counts don't lie. People seem to be somewhat enjoying that, which is rather flattering, I suppose. But just to say that you should not feel bad about it being like a boring request or something. Like, this doesn't matter. It's fine. You ask what you want to ask, and I'm sure loads of people would like it. The takeaway about Parley as a thing in my community overall, as a piece of content, the Pantaloon Saloon channel overall, is that it's kind of a grab bag style channel. This is something I didn't think I was ever going to do, but the idea is that there's so much content that you're intended when you go into the channel to just pick and choose what you like. It's assumed that you will not watch everything. And indeed, according to my statistics, very few people watch all the content on this channel. Which is perfectly fine. That's what I would expect that. There are people that do. Thanks for your business, folks. But it's the kind of channel where I expect people to pick and choose what they like, and I would never be upset if people didn't watch a thing. Whereas by comparison on the main channel, I do feel a little bit more like if a video doesn't do as well, and it's like pretty in the strike zone of the content I normally make, I often think that was much more likely YouTube, or like the audience didn't give it a chance type of content, rather than like, of course people don't watch all the types of content. Like, I figure it will do pretty well, you know. I hope it doesn't seem hubristic of me to say when a video doesn't do well on the main channel, I tend to think something is wrong, rather than, not all the time, but a lot, especially like Framework. The videos are not doing well at the time of this recording, simply because YouTube has killed my channel from not uploading for a long time, like a month or two ago. But it will recover. That's nothing to worry about. I have not lost any sleep over that. But indeed, once those videos do recover and they're consistently getting back to, the 15,000 views or so that were a staple on my channel before, if one of them doesn't do well, I would suspect that something was wrong, or the audience, maybe I miscommunicated what the video was to the audience. This is the kind of thing where I might think a little bit more like maybe the thumbnail just like doesn't resonate with people for some reason. Some of the recent thumbnails, I make them and then I think, it just doesn't quite look right at the small size, and then you can remake them. That's fine. Anyway, this is not about Parley anymore. Thank you for your very interesting question. I do indeed think that there are some distinct Parley styles, and I would be interested to see people put their own spin on it a little more, or not. I feel like people have kind of been in the middle about that, and that is completely fine and has been a lot of fun. But if you want to not put a spin on it at all and ask a very straightforward question, or put even more of a spin on it and have like a sort of gimmick to your style of Parley, provided that I can make it in this format, like that's cool with me. I'm looking forward to it.